Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric and another countdown to Christmas 2021. Today, I'm going to talk about hats and scarves. Thus the reason I'm wearing a hat. When I was younger, I always tended to wear hats, especially brimmed hats. I sunburn easily, and so if I went outside, there was usually a brim covering my face to give me a little bit of protection from the sun. As I got older, I started wearing a lot more sunscreen, and I started wearing cloche hats and other just fun hats. But as much as I wore hats, I never really wore knit hats. My daughter, on the other hand, by the time she was a teen, and definitely when she went off to college, she had hats of every size or every kind, type that she could find. She loved the cloche hats. She loved the knit hats. The one thing she didn't tend to wear as much of is the brimmed hats that I grew up with. But hats were something that she just loved to wear them because of the style of them. So this is a hat that she actually made. I have to, honestly admit that when it comes to doing things like cables and color work, my kids are much better knitters than I am. Maybe they just have more patience to follow a pattern than I have ever had. But she's made hats for herself, and I've made hats for my son. I've made hats to give away. But we love having the knit hats. So as usual, I will be showing pictures of the hats that I'll be talking about and showing as we go through. But I'm going to start off with hats, and then I'll move into scarves, and also, I guess with scarves. And I love making cowl, the kind that you put up over your nose. When I was younger, I used to run and train for road races, and I hadn't found these neck and face warmer cowl type protections. They didn't exist, I don't think, until closer to the time I was out of college. And what I would have given back in those earlier days of having something that stayed in place and I didn't have to worry about long tails. But I did like having knitted scarves, and my mom made me an extremely long, wonderful knitted scarf when I was in high school that I took off to college with me that I loved. And so I do find them to be fun. But let's start with hats. Okay, try to stay on track. Feeling like I'm a little all over the place tonight. So with hats, let me just start showing you. So the Christmas, we moved into this house on Christmas Day in 2017. And the months leading up to the move, we had been expecting to move and close on our house, sell our house in Colorado in October on Halloween. So we expected to be moving around Halloween, and as it turned out, as things happen, we didn't manage to get all that done until Christmas. And in that time, almost all of my crafting material, all of my fiber and fabric and everything, the majority of it was packed up in storage pods ready to cross the country for the move. So I did keep needles on hand, and I went out and I bought some fun yarn, and I made 2 big floppy Christmas hats. Mrs. Santa Claus, Mr. Santa Claus. And yes, I have been able to get my husband to wear this, and the picture will show it better. So these are just fun. They were just predominantly one skein, knit it until it started running out, and then close it off and make big pom-poms out of it. So that was a ton of fun. They're warm, so if you're doing outside decoration, something like this really works. Simple skeins of yarn that I picked up in desperation to keep my hands busy. Let's see. So the hat I have on is one that my daughter made. It's getting a little rough for wear because when she graduated from college, she went into the Peace Corps, and she went to Mongolia. And her love of hats really changed and became more just part of her being when she ended up in Mongolia. It was very, very cold there. And so she had knitted hats, she had knitted scarves, she had mittens, she had gloves that went under the mittens, lots of things to try to keep her warm. But also that's when she discovered, she lived in a ger, what a lot of people call a yurt, but the Mongolians call a ger. And while she lived in that, she had to heat all of her own water. She had to everything. It was like, she had a coal fire. She had to do things while she did have electricity. If she wanted to keep her hair clean, to keep herself clean, she had to do it the very old-fashioned way of heating all the water herself. She discovered that you just didn't need to wash your hair every single day, not when it was, minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And so she discovered another purpose for hats. Hats were a wonderful thing to keep your hair up and clean and out of the way. And if you hadn't had a chance to wash it in a few days, it was fine because it was kept up. So she wore her hats all the time. And it was a habit she developed, she loved. She loved the way she looked with the hats on. And it was something she discovered was really useful in her life since she's come back from Mongolia. So the hat I have on went to Mongolia. This is one that I made her before she went. And I ended up making one of those fabulous neck warmer, face warmers. When I made this, I made the top narrower than the bottom so that it would spread out over the shoulders. So she had that. That went. When I do the day of mittens, I will show you the mittens that I also made with this. And what I did with this is I spun the wool. It was a white cream colored wool, and I spun it up, and then I dyed all of the items together after, which is not something I normally do, but in this case it really worked because I dyed everything up, and then I did a batch of dye. I spun everything up and knitted it, and then I did a batch dye of all of the items after they were finished. And I did my normal just drizzle dyes all over, and it really ended up having a beautiful textured color to it. So very, very happy with these. They have been well worn. They are slightly felted now, which I'm sure makes them even more warm. She really used these a lot. So this is one that she did her, she spun the yarn. It was a funky kind of yarn, fiber that we had picked up at one of the fiber stores, and it was the first time she'd spun something that the color was kind of, all over the place. And then she knit this up into this, and it's a lot thicker than the other stuff. So it's thick and it's felted a little bit. She used this. She said it's not the best for wear after Mongolia. And I was like, oh my goodness, this thing is going to breathe, but it's going to keep you warm. So another one of the neck cowls. So here's another one she did. This one was a fun one, and the color will show it better in the picture because it's purple and teal, and it was, I think it's 100% alpaca. And it was really big and really floppy, and so we went about trying to felt it as much as possible. It has been really seriously felted. It looks adorable on her. It looks like a little bit of a French beret that doesn't have a beret shape. It's she calls them all tams is what she calls them, and it was just fun. She loves this one. She pushes it back. She has bangs, and or as the Brits call it, fringe, and she pushes it back against the back of her head. And sometimes if you have to, you can put a little bobby pin and hold in place. But she uses it very much like the old snoods. Keep your hair up and out of the way and protected, and a little bit of style. She loves the color teal. I love the color purple. So this one really, for both of us, we loved it. So those of you who've been watching my different videos will know this one and recognize it. One of the ones that I did a different demonstration and spin. Oh, I do love this one. I almost put this one on for today, but I decided to go with the one that my daughter made. So this one I just took off, took off the needles yesterday and whipped this matching neck warmer up last night and this morning. So that is one that I bought the yarns a number of months ago. It just was a lot of fun. I don't do a lot of color work, but I can play with it. There's no pattern. It's doodling, and I love the way this one has turned out. The color that I know on the screen doesn't turn out. It's actually orange and tan, sandy tan, caramely color, and a green. I know the picture will show it up much better. So this is out of an alpaca and yak. Oh, and I am telling you, I have very sensitive skin, so I have to be very careful with woolens touching my neck and my face. I would have no problem wearing this. It's a sock weight yarn, and it knit up beautifully. It's a yarn out of Australia. I had the paperwork sitting here forever, and then I got rid of it. But this one I'm just really pleased with. Okay, so sometimes you just have to, try something different. This was me actually attempting to follow a pattern. It's a true Mobius, so it's knit in that twist. It can go over my head twice. This is a silk merino blend, and I have worn this a few times. It's really nice. Again, super soft. So I've shown you a number of knits. One of the first knit hats that I did, I started a number of years doing these little muffin top hats, and this was out of sock yarn. I discovered that I had made it a little too small. It's kind of hard. You think, oh, I've been knitting forever, and it's big enough. And so these cute little hats will probably go to grandkids someday. But it's hand-dyed sock yarn. So I've been doing a lot of the hats and showing the hats, but I wanted to show you some scarves before this video got too long. My daughter weaves, so... And again, I wish the color showed up a little bit better, because all of this that's showing on the camera as being blue is actually purple. Purple doesn't seem to show up well on my camera, but this is a chenille, a black chenille that is woven woven into hand spun purple warp threads that I did. My daughter did that one up. She made one for her dad a number of years ago that he really loves. Just a simple woven scarf. She changed the colors. That's all chenille. I think this is actually a cotton chenille. And she just changed the colors out, and he loves it. He wears this with his good, nice dress wool coat. So there's that one. Another simple woven scarf. Yeah, can't have enough. This one here, I did on a little tiny lap loom that we have, that my husband made me, and it's a little rigid head loom that he made, and it's just it's the merino. I didn't spin this. It's merino nylon sock yarn blank from Knit Picks, and then it is dyed, it's dyed with earth minerals, so it's actually kind of more of a painted. But that was a fun one that I did. And then finally, so we think of scarves and we think of winter most of the time, and I've shown you a lot of winter woolens and some really nice wool and cotton scarves. But don't forget, when you're doing gift giving, it doesn't have to be all just for winter. Silk scarves are such a fun, quick project. Hand dyeing them, hand painting them. Can you really have too many? I don't think you can. My daughter certainly doesn't think you can, because some of these are mine, some of these are hers, but this is one of the ones. Oh, I just love the way the color takes it. This is actually a silk and wool blend that you can purchase the blanks for, and then you can just have fun dyeing them. So if you're wanting to have a quick Christmas gift, a quick gift for a birthday, it doesn't hurt to keep some silk scarves on hand. The blanks are really inexpensive in comparison to what you would pay if you went to a boutique and bought them, if you went to a store and bought them. And so it's good to have something like this. This makes a very fun, fabulous gift. And I know that we went through a trend where lots of people were doing the silk scarves and wearing them. And then it kind of trends off. But I do love them. My daughter loves them. She wears them, ties them around her hair. So when she doesn't want to deal with her hair with a hat, she'll put on a silk scarf. And when she was in Mongolia and she was working with the Peace Corps, that was something she actually did quite a bit. It was another way to deal with the fact that you couldn't wash your hair necessarily more than a couple times a week at best. And so having scarves to tie around your hair and hats, it was practical. And if we go back and we look at what people in past generations have done, you will see that the silk scarf tied over the hair to keep the wind from messing up your hairstyle, these kind of things, they were much more prevalent in the past. And I think there's something we really should be embracing today. The wearing of a hat, the wearing of scarves, the wearing of them in our hair, the wearing them around our neck, it's a way to, it's a wonderful accessory. It's a way to feel just a little bit more like you're just a little more dressed up without necessarily being dressed up. They're wonderful accessories. They can be practical, they can be decorative, they can be both at the same time. And I think there's something that make wonderful gifts. But we sometimes think, oh, well, I have to be able to knit it. You can buy blanks. You can spin up your own yarn. You can weave up your scarves. You can knit. You can crochet. You can just play with dye. So that is something fun to think about. And you think, well, why would I need a scarf? Well, I love this one. This one, as I said, it is a wool and silk blend. And if I had an open crew neck shirt on, this would give that little extra warmth. But it can also tie my hair down if I was in the wind. But to me, these work as well, if not better, than jewelry today. They're comfortable and they're colorful and they're individual. There's never two that are the same. So this is my hats and scarves. I hope that you will be inspired. I hope that this will give you ideas. If you don't have the ability to get some blanks before Christmas arrives, consider the next holiday coming up, which is Valentine's Day, the next big gift-giving fun, and think about who in your life, including yourself, could benefit from a hand-painted scarf. The painting of it is really... I don't treat these scarves any differently than if you've watched my dyeing videos. I dye these scarves the same way I dye my yarn. It's might as well. It's finger painting. It's really At the end of the day, it's finger painting. It's not worrying about making a mess. All you have to do is keep some simple color rules in mind. One of the easiest ways, if you feel like you're intimidated by using dyes and color, whether it's for hats, yarn, fibers, or scarves, just remember, if in doubt, stick to one color family, or go and get yourself a color wheel or paint chips from the hardware store and stick to one wedge, stick to one grouping. You can't go wrong if you do that. So don't be intimidated, and I hope this has inspired you to make some scarves, make some hats, and accessorize, and have fun with these wonderful, somewhat utilitarian, beautiful ways of enhancing our life and our style. So until tomorrow, I wish you the very best. I hope you can unwind with some fiber and fabric, and I'll see you again soon.